أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم وفقنا وسائر المشتغلين للعلم والعمل الصالح بحق محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his progeny, he said, weigh your food, for there is blessing in weighed food. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله كيلوا طعامكم فإن البركة في الطعام المكيل. كيلوا طعامكم فإن البركة في الطعام المكيل. With Islamic laws, we reach to issue number 1047. After completing the dhikr of ruku', one must stand straight. Not in a shape of bowing. Should stand straight. And I mean for the normal people, not for the sick people. And based on obligatory precaution, after his body has become still, he must go into sajdah. So he was in bowing position, then he should stand still. After his body become still, in this case he can go for prostration, for sujood. Not he is on his way to stand still and then go for sujood. If he intentionally goes into sajda before standing, his prayer is invalid. Look, this is very dangerous issue. That this person, before he stands still, that he went intentionally for prostration, for sajda, his salah will be void. And the same applies based on obligatory precaution if he intentionally goes to sajda before his body has become still. As a recommended precaution, as an obligatory precaution, if he is sitting and after performing sajda, he raises his head, and before he sits still, he went back intentionally for sajda. His salah will be what? As an obligatory precaution, his salah will be invalid. His prayer is invalid, and the same applies. It means the same hukum based on obligatory precaution if he intentionally goes into sajda before his body has become still. Not in sujood while he's sitting. I mean when he raises up from bowing from ruku', he should stand still. Then he should go where? He should go after being still. He should go to sajda. If he does not reach to be stand still and he moves to sajda and intentionally he did that, his salah will be invalid. Another thing, if before he's still, that means he's still in motion, like if he moves up or down, and then he moves immediately to sujood as an obligatory precaution, his salah will be invalid. Issue number 1048. If a person forgets to perform ruku' and remembers this, he forgets to perform what? Ruku', and he remembers that he has forgotten ruku' before he performs sajda. Before he performs sajda, he must stand upright. He must stand upright and then perform ruku', because the stand before ruku', this is wajib, this is obligatory. This standing is obligatory. Stand before ruku', this is what? This is obligatory stand. Qiyam wajib. And then perform ruku'. And it will not suffice if he performs ruku'. It will not suffice if he performs ruku' while in the state of bending. It will not suffice if he performs ruku' while in the state of what? Of bending forward, not having stood upright. Now, in this issue, I forgot or I forget to perform ruku'. I went directly to where? To sujood, to sajda. Before I reached to sajda, I remembered that I did not perform what? I did not perform ruku', bowing. So I have to stand still upright. Stand still upright. Why stand still upright? Because this is what we call it qiyam qabla ruku', standing before bowing. And this qiyam, this standing, it is obligatory act. It is an obligatory act. Then I should go to ruku'. I should go to ruku', then stand again and still, then go to sujood again, to sajda again. But if while I'm standing, I'm not still yet, and then went back to perform ruku', this is not enough. This is not enough. So I should stand upright and stood upright, and then perform ruku', then stand again still, and then move to ruku'. So at least there is what? There is a little pause between these acts, not to do them continuously without being sure that the previous act is what is finished while you are still. Issue number 1049. If after one's forehead touches the ground, after one's forehead, right here, touches the ground, he remembers that he did not perform ruku'. Now, when he remembered that he doesn't perform ruku', when he puts his forehead where? On the earth. He did not perform ruku'. It is necessary that he stand up and performs ruku'. This is for one sajda. This is the first sajda. As you know, in sujood we have two prostrations. سجدتين بالسجدة الواحدة بكل ركعة عندنا سجدتين. In each rak'ah we have two sajdas. The first sajda, if he performs the first sajda and his head where? His head on the earth, now he remembers that he did not perform ruku'. He should stand upright. And performs ruku'. And in case he remembers that he did not perform ruku', but when in the second sajda, then based on obligatory precaution, his prayer is invalid. Why his prayer is invalid? Because he entered to the second part, which is sajda, and he finished it in the because it is an obligatory act. Sajda, it is an obligatory act, and the sajda consists of two prostrations. والسجدة تتكون الركعة الواحدة تتكون من سجدتين. If he realizes or remembers that in the first sajda, it doesn't matter. He should stand up and perform ruku' and then go back to sajda, and at the end performs what? Performs sajdatay sahu. But if he performs the two sajda and remembers that he did not perform the ruku', his salah is what? His salah invalid. Any question? Issue number 1050. If it is recommended that a person says takbir. It is recommended that a person says takbir before going into ruku' and while standing straight. That Allahu Akbar, then moves to ruku', and after finished ruku' and he raises and stands still, he should say Allahu Akbar again. This is as a recommended. And while standing straight, it is also recommended that when a man performs ruku', he should push back his knees. He should what? He should push back his knees. He should push back by his hands his knees. Keep his back flat. Keep his back flat, not unflat. For men, I'm talking for men, not for women. Keeping his back flat. Stretch his neck. Stretch his neck. Not to put his neck downstairs and his head. No, stretch his neck. جعل رقبته شنو؟ مستقيمة. Stretch his neck forward إلى الأمام and keep it in line with his back. ويجعل رأسه in line with his back, not to make his neck like this. No, his neck should be like this, straight with his back. His neck will be straight with his back. Look between his feet. He is looking to where? Between his feet. Invoke blessings upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alih and his progeny salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Before or after the dhikr. Either before dhikr or after the dhikr. And after rising from ruku'. Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And after rising from ruku'. Also, after rising from ruku', he should say, and standing straight, recite Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And while his body is still, that means his body is what? Still, thabit. He should say, Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Sami Allahu liman hamidah. After he raises from bowing and his back straight. Okay, now in this case he should say Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Issue number 1051. It is recommended that when a woman performs ruku', Look, the previous issue for making the back straight and neck stretched with the line of the back for men. Now for women, it is recommended that when a woman performs ruku', she should place her hands above her knees, not on her knees, above her knees. That means on her thighs. And not push back her knees. Not push back her knees. Not like men. Any question? Issue number 1052. Now we came to a new topic, that is sujood, prostrating. In every rak'ah of the obligatory salah and recommended prayer, in every rak'ah of the obligatory and recommended prayer, one must perform two sajdas. One must perform two sajdas after ruku'. After ruku'. A sajda is performed when one's... Look, this is the definition of sajda, how to make sajda. A sajda is performed when one places his forehead on the ground in a particular manner, with the intention of humility before Allah. So we have to put our forehead on the earth, and the intention is to show humility to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what we call it sajda. This is what we call it sajda. And a sajda is performed when one places his forehead on the ground of a particular manner with the intention of humility before Allah. While performing a sajda in prayer, it is obligatory that the palms of both hands, the palms right here, this is my palm right here, this is my palm, look, this is my palm, this is the hand. This is the hand, and this is my palm. All right? The palms of both hands, both knees, and both big toes are placed on the ground. Both palms, two knees, and two toes should be on the ground. It is obligatory. They placed on the ground. Based on obligatory precaution for the purpose of sajda, the forehead refers to its middle area. The forehead refers to its middle area, like to say the rectangular area when two imaginary lines are drawn between the place where the eyebrows, again in the middle of the forehead, up to the point where the hair grows. Like this. The forehead, it means this area, the middle. This, if imagine there are two lines from in between the eyebrows till where the hair grows. These two lines, the middle is, this is the forehead. This is the forehead. Have you got it? يعني الجبهة وين حدودها؟ يقول لما نمد فد خطين افتراضية بين الحاجبين هذني، وين نهاية بداية الحاجبين ذني من هذا نرفع الخطين علما إلى بداية منبت الشعر. هاي المنطقة اللي بالنص هي نسميها الجبهة. هاي المنطقة اللي بالنص نسميها الجبهة. Is this understood, inshallah? Issue number 1053. Two sajdas together comprise one rukun. Two sajdas together comprise one rukun. So one sajda is not a rukun. With the extra one sajda or shorten one sajda, it wouldn't be invalidate the salah, or it becomes or it makes the salah invalid. But to perform two sajdas, if they are extra, that means salah will be void. Two sajdas together comprise one rukun. And if someone does not perform both of them in obligatory prayer in one rak'ah, even if this is due to forgetfulness or not nisyan or not or jahl, the ruling, al-hukum, his prayer is invalid. Whatever, if he forget or if he is that he doesn't know. In both cases, his salah is invalid. The same applies, that means the salah is invalid based on obligatory precaution if one adds two sajdas in one rak'ah. If he adds, this is an obligatory, this is an obligatory precaution. If somebody adds two sajdas in one rak'ah forgetfully or due to inculpable ignorance, al-jahl al-qusuri, it means not muqassir, qusuri. If he added two rak'ahs in one, two sajdas in one rak'ah extra, that means his salah is what? His salah is void. His salah is void. Al-jahl al-qusuri, inculpable ignorance, is when someone has a valid excuse for not knowing. When one has a valid excuse for not knowing, like if somebody he lives in an area and he does not have any of means of communication, there is no scholar there to ask him and to inquire about the issues. Issue number 1054. If a person intentionally does not perform a sajda, if a person intentionally does not perform a sajda means one sajda, or adds a sajda, or add one sajda, his prayer becomes invalid. Why? Shaykhana, before a while he told us one sajda, adding one sajda or shorten one sajda, it will be, the salah will be. Now this person intentionally add one sajda, not forgetfully. If a person intentionally, if you underline the word intentionally, does not perform a sajda or intentionally adds a sajda, his prayer becomes invalid. But if he inadvertently does not perform sajda, he doesn't know, forgetfully, he does not perform one sajda, or forgetfully adds one sajda, his prayer does not become invalid. The rule relating to when a sajda is not performed will be mentioned later, inshallah. Issue number 1055. If a person who can keep his forehead on the ground does not do so, whether intentionally or forgetfully. If a person who can keep his forehead on the ground, he does not do so, whether intentionally or forgetfully, he has not performed sajda. He has not performed sajda. What we need from him is to put his head where? On the earth, on the ground, on the earth. That is a sajda. But if a person does not do that, does not put his head on the earth, he just go for prostration, but he does not put his head where on the earth, and he removes it. He does not perform sajda, and it happens sometimes with a movement, with darkness. He has not performed sajda, even if other parts of his body may have touched the ground. Maybe not the forehead, but the other part of his head touches what? Touches the earth. I need what? I need the forehead. I need the forehead to touch the earth. But if he places his forehead on the earth, he put his forehead on the earth, but forgets, to keep other parts of his body on the ground. He just put what? He just put his forehead. He forget to put, for example, his palms, his toes on the ground. Or forgets to utter the dhikr. He forgets to say Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdah. His sajda is in order. Look, he forgets to put his toes on the ground, or forgets to say Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdah. His salah is, or his sajda is in order. Issue number 1056. When one has the option to, it is better that in sajda he says Subhanallah 3 times. If he has the option, that means he has a time, he has enough time for him, it is better after Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdah, or before it, to say Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. When one has option 2, it's better that in sajda he says Subhanallah 3 times, or Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdah once. Either Subhanallah 3 times or Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdah once. And these words must be said consecutively. There is no pause in between. ماكو قطع بيناتهم. And incorrect Arabic, there is what? There is no change of the harakat. It should be in a proper Arabic. Saying any dhikr suffice. Saying any dhikr, just like Subhanallah, that will be enough. But based on obligatory precaution, it must be of this length. It must be of this length, the same. Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdih. I should say Subhanallah, Subhanallah. Subhanallah, Subhanallah. 4 words. Yes. And it is recommended that one says Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdih 3 times, or 5 times, or 7 times, or even more times. 9 times, for example. Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdih. It's better to be said 3 times, or 5 times, or 7 times, or more than 7 times. Issue number 1057. While performing sujood. While performing sujood, one's body must be still. One's body must be still, thabit. And he must not intentionally move his body in a manner. He must not intentionally move his body in a manner that it is no longer still, even when based on obligatory precaution. He is not saying an obligatory dhikr. He is not saying an obligatory dhikr, that his body must be, while he is in sujood, in prostration, performing sujood, that his body must be what? Must be still, not in motion. Issue number 1058. If a person intentionally says the dhikr of sajdah before his forehead touches the ground, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdih, and then his head touches the ground, and before his body comes still, his prayer is invalid. His prayer is invalid unless he says the dhikr again when his body is still. That means before his head is touching the ground, he said Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdih. Now his salah is what? Is void. But if what he does, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdih, then after his forehead touches the ground, he repeated the dhikr Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdih. Here, no problem. And if he intentionally raises his head from sajdah before completing the dhikr, his prayer is invalid. Like Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, look, from sujood, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, then he raises his head. In this case, his salah is invalid. His salah is invalid. Issue number 1059. If a person inadvertently says the dhikr of sajdah, if a person inadvertently says the dhikr of sajdah before his forehead touches the ground, and if before he lifts his body from sajdah, he realizes that he has made a mistake. Before he lifts his forehead from where? From sajdah, he realizes that he said the dhikr of sajdah before he touches what? Or his forehead touches the ground. He must remain still and say the dhikr again. He must stay still stool and say the dhikr again. However, if his forehead touches the ground and he inadvertently says the dhikr before his body still, it is not necessary to repeat the dhikr. With this person, his head is touching what? Touching the ground, and before his body is still, he says Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdih. Now, is his salah void or valid? His salah, it is valid. His salah, it is valid. Look, if his forehead touches the ground and he inadvertently say the dhikr before his body still, inadvertently says the dhikr before his body is still, it is not necessary to repeat the dhikr. It is not necessary to repeat dhikr, and his salah is what? Is valid. Issue number 1060. Issue number 1060. If after raising his head from sajda, a person realizes that he has done so before the completion of the dhikr, if after raising his head from sajda, from sujood, a person realizes that he has done so, that means he raises his head from sujood before the completion of the dhikr, like Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, and then he raises his head, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdih. Now, what he should do? His prayer is in order. His prayer is in order, and he does not need to repeat his prayer. That's all for today. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم والعن عدوهم.